everybody. This is Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer. Today is June 6, 2013. Right now I am in the middle of delivering my 30-day sales growth, at least a consolidated edition, to my local Chamber of Commerce. And I opened up the first session, with a review of the 7 deadly sins of selling. So I thought on this podcast and on the next few, I would sprinkle in some of the 7 deadly sins of selling, at least a quick review, so you can get a whiff, a quick understanding, a little bit of insight into my thinking when it comes to sales. I've been in sales since 1994, started dabbling in it when I was still in the Air Force, went full-time sales in 97, began the Sales Whisperer. I bought the domain name in 2006. So I know a little bit about selling, even though I do a lot with Infusionsoft and CRMs and email marketing. At the end of the day, I tell people, if you cannot sell in person, you're going to have a tough time selling face-to-face. And most people, even though you're doing a lot of stuff online, unless you have a 100% e-commerce business, you're using the internet to make the phone ring, to get people to come to your place of business. So knowing how to sell is always going to be important for the vast majority of people in business. So with that in mind, let's take a quick peek at the number one of the 7 deadly sins of selling. It's what I call Annie Oakley-itis. And I realize one day soon I may have to change this number one, because I'm seeing more and more people don't know who Annie Oakley was. I'm not that old. I'm 43. All right. I'm not Pat Flynn, young whippersnapper. But heck, I'm not. I don't know, Jim Rohn, right? But anyway, Annie Oakley was famous for being a trick shot artist. She could hold a mirror up and hold a rifle over her shoulder and hit targets. And, so the idea behind that was, do not shoot from the hip. Okay, like Annie Oakley, she could shoot from the hip and hit her target. Salespeople, because we're typically outgoing and gregarious and quick-witted and quick with a joke and can handle our booze, we kind of roll with things. And that's fine to a degree. I'm not saying don't be outgoing, because being likable will help you make sales. All right? Being likable and trustworthy has helped me make the vast majority of my sales. But shooting from the hip will only take you so far. Okay? You can be likable and enjoyable and still have some structure to your process. When I first got started in sales, one of my first jobs was selling mobile homes at Oakwood Homes in Mobile, Alabama. At the time, I was married. We had a young son under a year old. Shannon was pregnant with Matthew. And I'll tell you all the story how I got to this situation later on, another podcast. But I was out of work. I had just left the Air Force. Things didn't work out at my first job, and I was unemployed. And I responded to an ad, and the draw against commission was more than what unemployment paid. And at the time, my rent in this little 2-bedroom apartment upstairs in Mobile, Alabama, was like $365 a month. And I started selling mobile homes, and I killed it. I made $100,000 my first year, and this was 1998. And so $100,000 in Mobile, Alabama is pretty good money, especially 15 years ago. But Oakwood had a very specific process. All of the trailers were locked, so people couldn't just browse around willy-nilly. It made them come into the office. We would not go show the homes until they sat down and we got some information on that prospect and the family and their current situation. And then we had a little flip chart. And we had to go through the flip chart. It talked about the manufacturing process. It talked about how Oakwood Homes own the manufacturing, they own the retail centers, and they own the bank. And so we could talk about some of the finer points. And then as we demoed the home, we didn't walk right in. from that quiz, from that understanding their situation, I knew where to take them, right, based on their budget. Was this going to be their primary residence? Was this, people would come in for secondary homes, like for hunting cabins or things like that. Single wide, double wide, were they paying cash? Was financing an issue? So it was, the monthly payment was the main thing. So when I knew what was going on in their world, I took them to the homes that I knew met their need. And so we always started on the outside. We showed them the underbelly, the structure. We showed them how the homes were made. Then we took them into the home. From there, through engaging with them, right, having a process, but also being likable, helped make the sale. All right. Now, you as a salesperson need to have a process as well, and you as a business owner, just as importantly. A lot of the work I do now is with sales and marketing automation, and so people will want to poo-poo the software that I sell, saying that it's too hard. But when we get down to brass tacks, and I ask them, tell me your process, what is it you want to automate and make happen? 95 out of 100 people cannot tell me their marketing and sales process from beginning to end. Okay, so you need to look at and really consider, how is a lead generated? How do you respond to that lead? How quickly does it happen? How often does it happen? How do you mix multimedia in with this, meaning email, phone calls, direct mail, such as postcards and letters? Do you leverage SMS, text messaging? Do you leverage voice broadcasts, even faxes? So you have to look at that entire process and then say, all right, once you are engaged with that prospect, what is the process? When do you set up a demo? Do you charge for demos? Do you do it alone? Does an engineer or management, somebody, a senior level executive, need to go with you? Then if they want a trial, again, do you pay for it? Do you leave it with them? How long? Does it need to go into legal, to be negotiated, the terms and conditions? Once they take ownership, how do you over-deliver? How do you wow them? How do you make sure they are consuming and using the product the way it was intended and to its full extent? When do you send a customer satisfaction survey? When do you ask for referrals and testimonials? So this type of detail is what has always interested me. Just even though I was still an outgoing, shoot from the hip kind of guy, I was frustrated if I did something wrong, right? Making that mistake. I'm not a perfectionist in that regard, right? So it wouldn't cripple me, but it would frustrate me if things weren't done in an optimal manner. So I was always looking for ways to shorten the sales cycles, not overcome objections, but eliminate them, prevent them from even coming up. One of the ways that I do that now on my website is with my should ask questions. So if you go to thesaleswhisperer.com and in the header you see the FAQs, so it's FAQs, and then on that same page is the SAQ, should ask questions. So I look at roadblocks and I figure out how to remove them. So you need to do the same thing in your sales and marketing. If you're a salesperson listening to this and you say, well, marketing is not my job, well, figure out how to get better at it yourself, even if you're at a big company, to make the marketing efforts in your favor. There's always little things you can do, even if it's like joining LinkedIn or creating a group or being active on the groups and engaging with others. Maybe you can set up a blog of your own. They always hear the story about Jim Cramer, Mad Money. He would leave a stock tip of the day on his answering machine. So when people called his house, they'd hear that stock tip. And some guy, I guess he called over and over because he just loved hearing it, the latest tip. And one day Kramer answered the phone and the guy got him an interview or did something. But, it was something that small, just leaving a message at his home answering machine. So again, where there's a will, there's a way. So stop looking around, placing blame. Figure out how you can create processes to streamline the marketing and the sales. I always tell people that people don't do business with you for one of two reasons. Either they've never heard of you or they have. If it's the latter, you've got some bigger issues to work on. If it's the former, do something about it. If I arrested you for being a salesperson and a marketer, would there be enough evidence to convict you? So with that, I'll leave you with this. If you'd like to learn more about the 7 deadly sins of selling, please visit thesaleswhisperer.com. In the search, you can just do a quick search for deadly sins of selling. I have a free report that you can download. And then there's also an opportunity to purchase the CD and MP3 download for free. You just pay the shipping. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Please, here, if you're on the either listening to iTunes or catching this on my website, please leave a comment and invite others to join. We are in the social world today, so that type of social validation, social proof is a big help in helping all of us grow. So, and it's hard for you to ask for others to do it for you if you're not doing it on your own. So thanks for listening. I look forward to catching you on the next version of the Sales Whisperer podcast.